The sound of her heartbeat drowned out everything else. The cars, the soft drizzle, even the distant chatter from the cafe behind her. Her back pressed against the cold brick wall, her trembling fingers clutching the strap of her woven bag. When she saw him walking toward her, her throat tightened. The air around her felt heavy, sharp, and unkind. She didn't even realize the words had escaped her mouth until they echoed down the wet street. "Stay away." For a second, everything froze. The man stopped where he stood, his hands open, palms facing her, his expression unreadable. His voice, when it finally came, wasn't harsh. It was low, steady, and heartbreakingly calm. "I'm not like them," he said softly, the drizzle catching the light as if the world itself had paused to listen. "Before we go further, if you believe in kindness, healing, and second chances, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to our channel for more emotional stories like this one." Her name was Lena, and for the last 6 months, she had lived with a fear that refused to loosen its grip. The fear of men's footsteps behind her, the fear of voices calling her name in the dark, the fear of trust. Ever since that night, the night she thought she wouldn't survive, her world had shrunk to the corners of safe places, her small apartment, the cafe where she worked, and the quiet routes she memorized to avoid crowded streets. She had built invisible walls around her heart, brick by brick, like the ones surrounding the cafe. The man now standing before her was Evan, someone she had seen only from across the counter. He came to the cafe often, ordered the same thing every morning, black coffee, no sugar, and always sat by the window where the light touched his face. He never stared, never asked questions, never lingered. Just a polite nod, a small smile, and silence. But today, as the rain started and the world smelled like damp bricks and coffee, Lena's shift ended late. She had walked out to lock up and found him standing there as if waiting for her. Her pulse quickened again. The memory of rough hands, shouts, and a night that refused to fade flashed through her mind. She pressed harder against the wall, her voice cracking. "What do you want from me?" Evan shook his head gently. "Nothing. His voice broke for a second, like he was fighting something inside him. "You dropped this." He held out a small notebook. Her notebook, the one she carried everywhere, filled with sketches and unfinished thoughts she never showed anyone. She hadn't even noticed it missing. Still trembling, she hesitated, eyes darting between him and the book. "You could have left it inside," she whispered. "I know," he said quietly, "but I didn't want anyone else to see what was written inside. It looked personal." Something in his tone disarmed her. Not pity, not curiosity, just respect. He didn't move closer, just waited, his arm extended but steady. After a long moment, Lena stepped forward, keeping her distance, and took the notebook from his hand. Her fingers brushed his, and she immediately stepped back, clutching the book to her chest. Evan smiled faintly. "You draw beautifully, especially the one by the window." Her stomach dropped. "You opened it?" He shook his head. "Just the page that was loose. It fell out when I picked it up." "You drew the morning light hitting the cafe window." I recognized it. She didn't know why, but something in his sincerity made her throat ache. He didn't sound like someone trying to impress her. He sounded like someone who had been there too, someone who knew what it felt like to live quietly, carefully, and alone. The silence stretched. Rain began to fall again, soft and rhythmic. Lena finally managed, "Why would you care about a stranger's notebook?" He looked at her with eyes that seemed to hold a story of their own. "Because once, someone found mine," he said, "and it changed everything." That was how it began, the slow unraveling of two broken pasts crossing paths under a gray sky. Over the next few days, Evan kept coming to the cafe, just like before, but he never brought up what happened that evening. He ordered his coffee, smiled politely, and left. It was Lena who started noticing things, how he held doors open for strangers, how he helped an old woman pick up spilled groceries, how he always left extra tips when the cafe was short-staffed. There was a quiet decency about him that didn't ask for attention. It just existed, like sunlight through rain. One day, during her break, she caught him sketching something on a napkin. She couldn't help but glance. It was her, standing by the cafe window, her reflection blurred by the rain outside. For a moment she froze. When he noticed her looking, he smiled gently and crumpled the napkin. "Sorry," he said. "Old habit. I draw people when I don't have the courage to talk to them." For the first time in months, Lena laughed. A small, uncertain sound, but real. "You're better with a pencil than words," she said softly. He nodded. "Yeah, words can hurt, drawings don't." From that day on, something changed. They began talking in small doses, safe conversations that tiptoed around their pasts. She learned he had once been an architect who left his job after an accident took his younger brother's life. He blamed himself for being the one who survived. She didn't tell him everything about her trauma, but he never asked. He just listened. And sometimes, silence between them spoke louder than any confession. Still, fear is not something that disappears quietly. One rainy evening, as the cafe was closing, a group of men entered, loud and drunk. Lena's hands shook as they teased her, making her relive echoes she tried so hard to forget. Before she could react, Evan stood up from his seat, his voice steady and calm. "That's enough," he said. There was no anger, just quiet strength. The men mocked him, but when they saw the way he didn't flinch, they left, muttering. Lena was frozen, tears in her eyes. Evan turned toward her but didn't move closer. "You don't have to thank me," he said gently. "You just have to know, not everyone is like the ones who hurt you." That night, after she locked the cafe, she found herself standing outside, staring at the rain again. Evan was there, waiting under the awning. "You shouldn't have stayed," she said. He shrugged lightly. "I just wanted to make sure you got home safe." Her voice trembled. "Why? Why do you care so much?" He looked at her, his eyes soft but filled with pain. "Because I know what it's like to be afraid of people, to think you'll never trust again. But one person's kindness once made me believe that maybe I could." Lena felt her walls cracking in a way that terrified her. She wanted to push him away, to scream again, to run, but her heart wouldn't let her. His presence didn't make her feel trapped. It made her feel seen. The days turned into weeks, and though she tried to keep her distance, life kept bringing them together. When her mother fell ill, Evan helped drive her to the hospital. When her landlord tried to raise rent unfairly, Evan quietly helped her find legal advice. He never asked for anything, never demanded gratitude. Then came the day everything changed. Lena received a letter from the court. The man who once hurt her was being released. The ground beneath her seemed to vanish. She sat alone in the cafe's back room, shaking, unable to breathe. When Evan found her there, she didn't shout this time. She just broke. He sat quietly on the floor beside her, not touching her, not speaking, just being there. When she finally spoke, her words came out like a confession. "I hate that I still live in fear. I hate that he still controls how I feel." Evan looked at her with gentle eyes. "Then let's take that control back, not by forgetting, but by living." That night they walked together through the same street where they had first met. The air smelled of rain and hope. She stopped by the same brick wall, her reflection visible in the wet pavement. "I screamed at you here," she said, her voice breaking. "I thought you were just another man who'd hurt me." He smiled faintly. "You had every reason to think that." She took a deep breath, her heart pounding. "But you weren't." "No," he said softly, "I wasn't." Something in her finally gave way. The fear, the guilt, the weight of years. Tears fell freely as she whispered, "Thank you for not giving up on me." He shook his head. "You did that yourself. I just reminded you that good people still exist." If this story touched your heart, please like this video, share it with someone who's fighting their own fears, and subscribe to the channel for more stories of healing and hope. Before you go, comment below. Do you believe one kind person can change someone's entire life? As they stood there in the soft rain, the world around them quieted. The cafe lights flickered behind them, reflecting off the wet street. Lena looked at the man who had once been a stranger and saw something she never thought she'd find again: safety.